The key deer is an endangered deer that lives only in the Florida Keys. It is a subspecies of the white-tailed deer. It is the smallest North American deer. Description: this deer can be recognized by its characteristic size, smaller than all other white-tailed deer. Adult males usually weigh 25 to 34 kilograms and stand about 76 centimeters tall at the shoulder. Adult females usually weigh between 20 and 29 kilograms and have an average height of 66 centimeters at the shoulders. The deer is a reddish-brown to gray-brown in color. Antlers are grown by males and shed between February and March and regrown by June. When the antlers are growing, they have a white velvet coating. The species otherwise generally resembles other white-tailed deer in appearance. Behavior: key deer easily swim between islands. Living close to humans, the key deer has little of the natural fear of man shown by most of the larger mainland relatives. The deer are often found in residence yards and along roadsides where tasty plants and flowers grow. This often results in car-to-deer collisions, as the deer are more active at night. It is not unusual to see them at dusk and dawn. Breeding occurs all year, but peaks in October and December. Territorial activity is limited to defending a receptive doe from other bucks. Longevity records are 9 years for males and 7 years for females. Adult females form loose matriarchal groups with 1 or 2 generations of offspring, while bucks feed and bed together only during the non-breeding season. Range, habitat, and diet. The range of the key deer originally encompassed all of the lower Florida Keys, but is now limited to a stretch of the Florida Keys from about Sugarloaf Key to Bahia Honda Key. Key deer use all islands during the wet season when drinking water is more generally available, retreating to islands with a perennial supply of fresh water in dry months. Key deer inhabit nearly all habitats within the range, including pine rocklands, hardwood hammocks, mangroves, and freshwater wetlands. The species feed on over 150 types of plants, but mangroves and thatch palm berries make up the most important part of the diets. Pine rockland habitat is important as well, because it is often the only reliable source of fresh drinking water. Habitat destruction due to human encroachment cause many deer to feed on non-native ornamental plants. History: the key deer is a subspecies of white-tailed deer which migrated to the Florida Keys from the mainland over a land bridge during the Wisconsin glaciation. The earliest known written reference to key deer comes from the writings of Hernando de Escalante Fontaineda, a Spanish sailor shipwrecked in the Florida Keys and captured by Native Americans in the 1550s. Endangered status: key deer were hunted as a food supply by native tribes, passing sailors, and early settlers. Hunting them was banned in 1939, but widespread poaching and habitat destruction caused the subspecies to plummet to near extinction by the 1950s. The National Key Deer Refuge, a federally administered national wildlife refuge operated by the Wildlife Service, was established in 1967. Recent population estimates put the population between 700 and 800, putting it on the list of endangered species. Roadkills from drivers on US 1, which traverses the deer's small range, are also a major threat, averaging between 125 and 150 kills per year, 70% of the annual mortality. However, the population has made an encouraging rise since 1955, when population estimates ranged as low as 25, and appears to have stabilized in recent years. Still, recent human encroachment into the fragile habitat and the deer's relatively low rate of reproduction point to an uncertain future for the species. Conservation efforts. Conservation conservation efforts include the establishment of the National Key Deer Refuge, which consists of about 8,500 acres on Big Pine, No-Name Key, and several smaller uninhabited islands. Not all of the refuge lands are protected as public lands, despite extensive efforts of the refuge to purchase these private habitat lands for protection in the refuge. About 5,000 acres currently remain in private ownership and can potentially be developed. About 1,000 acres of this privately developable land is on Big Pine Key and No-Name Key, which are the central population areas for the deer. In 2006, a habitat conservation plan was enacted by Monroe County and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, which will limit development in primary habitat and provide for additional habitat purchases over the next 15 years. At the end of this period, however, most of the 1,000 acres of privately owned habitat land on Big Pine and No-Name Keys will still be opened for further development. Thus, while the short-term promises some cushion from extinction, the long-term prospects for the deer remain in doubt. A portion of U.S. Route 1 was also elevated in 2003 to allow the deer to pass safely beneath the roadway, in an attempt to lessen the chance of roadkills. However, no decrease in total traffic deaths has been seen. The National Key Deer Refuge encourages people to help keep the key deer wild by not feeding them. Feeding them acclimates them to humans and vehicles, and makes them more likely to be hit and killed by vehicles. Also, hanging around people and developed areas in higher than normal densities makes them more susceptible to diseases, dog attacks, and entanglements in human trash, all of which can lead to increased injuries or death. Please do your part to respect the key deer. Don't feed or pet them. Not only is it against the law, it leads to bad behaviors that can have grave consequences on this unique endangered species.